All right.
Somebody.
Let's move you up.
Okay.
I bet you it will work this time.
You think?
I think so.
Did you lose our music? I can't live without that.
Alakazam, alakazam. Greetings. This is the Long in the Boot podcast, the podcast coming to you from the heel of the boot of Southwest Louisiana. I am your host, G. Long, and sitting across the way, as always, is Deb.
Hello, community, audience, people, folks of all ages.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages.
No, I don't want to go there yet. I got that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Hi, kids. Well, anyway, so we're doing this on a Tuesday, which is unusual.
On a Tuesday. You know why? Because it's summertime.
That's true. And it's a Tuesday, which means this comes out tomorrow.
So we better get this shit right.
Who cares?
I care a little bit.
I care up to a point.
I don't want our audience to
Well, I mean, I'm not going to leave in anything horrible.
Do we often say anything horrible? Actually, sometimes not me.
You're terrible. You're a potty mouth.
Well, I might cuss, but I'm not going to insult Christ.
You better not.
You have done things like that.
She's sitting across from me if you're aiming that lightning bolt.
All right, do your intro stuff.
Oh, yeah. If you want to get a hold of the Long in the Boot podcast, hey, it's easy. You just send an email to longintheboot@gmail.com. And if you'd like to give us a call at the Long in the Boot program, it's easy, 337-502-9011. And I already told you the email. So again, if you want past podcasts, that's easy too, longintheboot.com for all of your past podcast needs, as we are coming up on the 5th anniversary.
Yeah, actually we are. We're coming up on our 5th year. We're going to have to get a guest in here. We need
Well, we're starting our 5th year. We'll be starting the 5th year.
So yes. We're wrapping up our 4th.
Well, I'm still trying to get
the Habs in.
The Habs in.
Yeah, he's such a busy man.
My Lord.
Yeah.
That guy
I had a couple people online, but I don't know.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens.
So
otherwise, we may just have to talk to each other.
What's been happening in your world?
No school, so carefree mornings, playing in the dirt. Digging.
Playing in the dirt. That's usually where I find her.
Moving things, rearranging things.
I know where the bodies are buried.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
Too late.
One day.
I've made sure I've got them.
One day they'll come in here and
I've got immunity.
Yeah, you do. You're protected.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, just so much it's almost impossible now to discuss anything political because it's all so freaking crazy.
Because there's all so much. Okay, well then let's begin with something a little off topic. I got a question from a listener, and I chose not to answer it online because it's like talking about politics today. Trying to do that kind of thing online is just it's tedious. There's all this clearing up points and back and forth. It just takes forever. I don't have time for all that shit because
it's just ugly.
I have other things to do. But we have a listener and former student. It's actually a former student of yours, not mine. But he had a question, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, it's a lot, so I'm going to just answer it on the podcast.
Ah, okay.
There you go. You see how I worked that in?
I did.
All right. So he said,
how professional of you.
Some days. Do you think that academia today is mostly taught to how to take a test rather than learning the material? The reason he's asking is because he found as he went through his educational career that you were teaching critical thinking skills in addition to you weren't just reading a script. It wasn't just about the rubric. And he felt like other teachers in his life maybe were a little more robotic and just going through the steps. And there are steps in a teaching job. A teacher, the rubric that we have for our own. Yeah, I know, right? I have one hanging out on the wall behind me as I do my daily. In case they come in, it's like, oh, look, I do know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It's hanging right there.
There's my objectives.
There's the 62. I don't know why I'm stuck on 62 today, but it's 62 objectives that I'm covering in the 47 minutes you give me to disseminate this amount of information. So his question really is, do we think that teachers today, and this question's been around
and
since
the fancy
I started
way of saying is teach to the test.
Are you teaching to the test? Well, I've always said to a degree you have to, because why test?
Yeah, I mean,
that's checking the assessment of whether or not you got the material out. But I understand what he means, because you like to play devil's advocate. He said he assumes that because we're married, do the same kinds of things. Literature is a little different because it's more subjective, but you can't ignore the subjective in an objective course like history either.
Correct.
So,
because you approach history immediately. When you approach history, you have primary sources, people who were there. That doesn't mean that what they say is necessarily exactly what happened, but it's as best you're going to get. Yeah,
that's all we can work with. And you have to consider the cultural environment, and it's no different than today. I mean, when this person's children's children look back at this time period, I don't even know how they're going to make sense of what's true. And
well, AI will tell them what happened.
Yeah, that's its own thing.
One of the reasons that I have read as much as I have, and I'm a bookworm, I love to read, is it helps me to understand history, to have many, many, many different viewpoints on certain topics.
Yeah.
Because then I can sift those viewpoints and craft my own opinion.
Your own ideas, your own thoughts about it.
Why things happen, why things were created.
And that's why you study the history. That's why you read literature. All of those things help you formulate a better rounded.
And I can give you an example of recently a lot of politicians in the Trumplican party have started telling me and others what the founding fathers meant.
Yes,
when they created
by what they wrote,
our founding documents, but they're just telling us what they believe.
Yes.
And when I read, for instance, Madison or Jefferson and the words they actually wrote, and since they had a big hand in creating a lot of these documents, I'm going to take their word for it over anybody living today.
Yeah.
And I don't see an agreement on a lot of these things.
And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not twisting what they said.
No,
I'm not adding intent in there that they did not have, or no.
No. And I'm not saying they crafted a perfect document. And I'm not speaking of the conspiracy theories like that all of the documents were divinely inspired, because that is part of the Christian nationalist movement, is the idea that the Constitution and the Declaration were divinely inspired by God. Okay. These were men of the Enlightenment. They would have, in fact, they would have laughed at such things.
Yes.
But then again, people can believe whatever they want, I suppose.
Yes, it's 2025. You can believe whatever you like.
But generally, what happens in my class, at least the way my method of one of my methods of teaching critical thinking, is it doesn't matter what the opinion that the student puts forth. I'm going to go ahead and attack it.
And question it, yes.
And I'm not doing it maliciously. I'm not attacking the person. I'm attacking the idea.
Their idea.
And my first question always is, how did you arrive at this conclusion?
Yes. What's your evidence? How did you base your opinion on? What?
And that works in a face-to-face sitting. Mm-hmm. The problem is it doesn't work on the internet.
Well, that was my point in not trying to answer such a broad question, because we all do have to teach to the test to some degree. You and I, well, no, actually this year now I'm
back to teaching social studies again.
You're back to teaching courses that have a high stakes test. My high stakes test is the ACT.
I will go ahead and throw this out there too. After 25 years of teaching, and most of that teaching history and being tested, my students being tested, here's a shocker for everybody. The bell curve is a real thing.
It's pretty standard.
I've looked at my test scores going back 20 years, and every single year it ends up being basically a bell curve. Nice. It might be shifted one way or the other a little.
Couple plus or minus 2 points.
But for the most part, 80% of the scores are in the middle, with a nice 10% on either end.
Yes.
Or you can say 60% in the middle and 20% on the ends.
So that just really tells you a lot about society.
Well, I believe the bell curve applies to way more than just test scores. I think it applies to almost everything.
Yes.
You cannot be an expert in everything. And these kids are not going to be experts in history unless they continue their education in that field.
And have people to discuss it with.
My argument against testing has always been the actual test itself. Mm-hmm. Because I do not believe that for American history, they are teaching, and civics too, for that matter, that they are teaching the facts first. They want to teach it holistically.
They want us to make sure they're teaching. They can do critical thinking, but how do you test that?
Well, something else that exists is called Bloom's taxonomy.
No, Bloom's has changed.
Not really. They've changed the words, but the theory behind it is the same.
I know.
You can't get to abstract thought
before
concrete thought, yes. And that is the problem. Our students are not getting civics and U.S. history at a young age where they would learn facts, yes. Actual facts
to build on
later, yes. Which is why when I get them in 10th and 11th grade, many of them are not even aware that there's 3 branches of government. That is something that when I was a child and when you were a child, we did know that.
We did.
By the time we made it to high school.
Well, because we learned about a bill sitting on Capitol Hill.
And that helped a lot, too. Hey, man, multiplication and Schoolhouse Rock were 2 of the best things that ever happened on television.
Oh, yes. That little song, we learned that way. We learn in stories. We learn in rhymes.
And that was all good, concrete information. Yes, if we wanted to abstract, we watched H.R. Puffin stuff. And
so, yes. That took.
He's a friend when things get rough.
I know. I've heard that. Now we're back to H.R. Puffin stuff, psychedelic stuff, 2025.
But anyway, so in reference to his question to you, I would say that most teachers, I believe, are doing the best they can to prepare their students for the test, without actually teaching to the test. Now, math, how do you teach to the test? Math facts don't change.
They should not, but they're about to calculate.
So if you're teaching math,
their math curriculum again.
I know, but if you're teaching math, for the most part, you're teaching to the test because the test is going to.
It should be the same things that you're
with U.S. history and with civics. You can't teach to the test because we as instructors don't know what will be on the test.
You're not allowed to know because ultimately these tests are designed to find out if you, the teacher, are doing your job.
The test isn't for the students.
No, it's not really for the students. It's to show that you've been doing your job. And if they give you a script and you need to go by script,
then you are teaching to the test.
Then you are absolutely
because they're matching the test to the curriculum. And the curriculum is the script.
And my problem has been,
and kids won't learn.
I'm not a fan of the curriculums
I'm not either.
That I've had. And
especially in U.S. history, because there's so much that they want the kids to know that could possibly be tested.
But we don't know.
That is absolutely useless information.
It is. And there's no reason for a lot of it. And history continues to happen. And therefore, your time frame that you have to cover in 25 years since you've been a teacher has expanded by 25 years.
There were a couple of questions about the first Trump administration on the U.S. history test.
We've all agreed and signed a document that said we will not talk about the test.
I just heard 2 kids talk about it. I overheard it. They weren't supposed to be doing that, so really they need to be arrested and possibly flogged. And
are sent out of the country.
Well, the punishment for talking about the test, of course, is that you have to join Fight Club.
Oh. Hey, I'm not totally against that.
And of course, all of our state legislators are just, all doing the very best they can, only dealing with things that are factual and,
Yeah, we're not back to the subjective. All right. Well, okay. We touched on that. Look, if you're a brand new teacher going into education, your students, you probably are reading the script and you are being a little robotic because personality goes a long way in the classroom. Sometimes by sheer will of personality, I get them into something.
That's part of it, too.
I mean, my kids never wanted to read Shakespeare, but damn it, I love Shakespeare.
Look, if you're withdrawn
in
front of a crowd, look, a lot of people would say that I am withdrawn.
Oh, you were shy as hell when I met you.
Yes, but in front of a crowd, something happened.
Not early on. That came later.
Well, I didn't have the opportunity. But even like when in a work setting, if I was working and there were 10, 12, 14 people in the kitchen.
It's showtime.
I was on.
All right. Oh, you know what? That's the segue.
What?
Oh, showtime.
Showtime?
Yeah, it's showtime.
Oh, it is showtime.
It is. Okay, so we're going to shift.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Well, I was going to talk about one particular piece of Louisiana legislation.
Exactly.
To kind of get us started.
And actually, that's where that came from. That question originated on your post about the highly intellectual discussion about chemtrails in Louisiana.
Yes. So I guess the first thing to do would be to talk about what's happened.
What is Louisiana legislator doing?
Hang on.
Because I want them doing their job for me as a citizen of this state.
Well, they're protecting us, dude.
Yes. From what?
Well, from chemtrails.
From vapors in the sky?
Chemtrails. So in the Louisiana House, Senate Bill 46, a bill aimed at banning chemtrails, has passed the Louisiana House of Representatives and now waits be voted on by the state Senate. This bill was brought up by Republican Representative Kimberly Landry Coates. It passed the House 58 to 32. Coates says agencies utilize chemicals via these chemtrails to conduct weather modification experiments, and the legislation would direct the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality to record all chemtrail sightings and report complaints on to the Louisiana Air National Guard.
How do they monitor this? And if you make them illegal, what? I have to have an end result. How do you stop it? How do you?
Well, it's going to be real hard to stop because those are in fact contrails, and they come out of jet engines because of various environmental factors.
I saw a friend
of a friend. It's condensation, basically.
I saw a friend of a friend attack you about that and say there is a difference between contrails and chemtrails.
Well, he said I was a clot-having, COVID vaccine accepting liberal.
Deranged.
I think he used the word deranged.
I think deranged was in there because that's the common insult now if you're anti-Trump.
And he's probably not listening, but if he is, F you.
Why would he listen? He obviously dislikes you.
Clearly.
Okay, wait a minute. He dislikes your opinion.
No, he attacked me personally.
Okay, yeah, actually he did.
And all I can say then is
bugger
off, and I blocked you, and that's that.
Yeah, okay.
That's pretty much my reaction to anybody who gets like that.
Yeah, it's really gotten to that today.
I've
always been really lenient about letting people with their own views go, but it's gotten really. Well,
I would have taken it on as a fun project.
Yeah, but I'm busy.
But I don't
have time. Yeah.
But now, not to be outdone, I should point out that Tennessee passed a bill prohibiting the intentional release of chemicals into the atmosphere to affect temperature, weather, or sunlight. Florida recently passed a bill that DeSantis says he'll sign that would prohibit chemtrails.
Anybody putting these things in our air.
Let's see.
Should they focus on our foods and our water and stuff? I mean, if we're not allowing them to put stuff in our air, and we've always had industrial plants.
Now, lots of states have bills that ban things like geoengineering, weather modification, or polluting emissions.
Yes, because we've all heard China was trying to seed the clouds.
Which is ironic. Texas is a good example. It's illegal to put out polluting emissions.
It should
in the air.
Yes, all plants.
Right.
They
don't pollute.
Company and industry.
Fossil fuel. The fossil fuel industry
they don't put things in
doesn't
our water.
Put anything in the water
we don't
or the
have
air.
Any of that. But again, how are they going to police chemtrails in the sky?
That's a really good question.
I don't understand legislation and enacting something that can't possibly be policed.
That's true.
So you're wasting time.
The first chemtrail theories actually did not appear. There's no evidence of any kind of chemtrail conspiracy theories until about 1996.
Okay. And then somebody on the internet?
Well, it started to gather a little bit of steam, and the United States Air Force was accused of spraying the U.S. population with mysterious substances from aircraft generating unusual contrail patterns. And what unusual means is they spread out.
Oh.
They got wider.
They dissipate?
They dissipated, correct.
Oh, that's not science.
And you have to understand that in 1999, a new thing started to be used by people, the internet.
Yeah.
And there were a couple guys
to talk about.
Well, there were and this is where I actually have knowledge
Okay.
about the chemtrail conspiracy that goes way back.
Because you were alive in 1999.
Because I was working in radio.
Yes.
And I was an AM radio junkie. And a show that used to be on was called Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell.
Oh, yes.
And I heard these two guys, Richard Fink and William Thomas, come on there and talk about chemtrails. And
it lured people in, and it was exciting. And
exactly.
scary.
And people picked up on it on the internet. And then federal officials started getting calls and letters from all kinds of people. Believe it or not, the government spent a fortune attempting to dispel the rumors.
Because they used to care.
Because they actually used to care.
They used to care what we
said. But the government didn't understand internet rumors.
Yeah.
The fact that they tried to dispel the rumors made the rumors seem even more plausible. Yes. It's the Barbra Streisand effect. In a way.
Wait, explain that.
Oh, Barbra Streisand effect was somebody posted pictures of her house on this cliff in California. And she got on the internet and said that no one's allowed to publish those pictures. Yeah. They're her pictures, and nobody could do it because her house is protected. Blah 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 blah. And of course, it exploded.
They went crazy because she told them to stop it.
And they couldn't publish her pictures.
That's how humans are. I'm not even going to say Americans. That's just how humans are. Tell me to stop it, and I'm gonna keep going. Taco.
And so that is what's going on with the chemtrail thing.
And our legislators.
And our legislators are going to protect us by preventing.
But we need protecting from so many other things that's not it.
We do need a lot of protecting, obviously.
I don't need you to tell me social things, though. I don't need our legislators in the federal, local, or any of that to handle those kinds of things.
Oh, yes, you do.
No, we don't.
No, you do.
Yeah, the government is too much in our ass. they just,
see, you do have a potty mouth.
Well, okay. I was going to say it's drawn it out of me, but that's not true. I've always been like that. Okay.
Anyway, so when I read that story about the chemtrails, I'm like, God, people are so willing to just buy
into anything,
to all kinds of hoaxes.
That's our history today.
And I refer, as a bundle, all of these conspiracy theories, I consider them to be bullshit.
Yes. Well, somebody had posted on that same thread. Well, they did a documentary called The Dimming.
Yeah, I've already explained the whole mermaid story.
I went and looked at the documentary, The Dimming, and all the holes that have already been shot in it. And I wasn't going to waste any time.
Well, that's one of the most common things. The chemtrails, they're dimming the sun to stop global warming.
It's hot as shit.
Well, then they're
there.
failing.
Yes. If
that's true.
Goal.
Then it's not working. Stop it.
Okay, I'm going to stop talking over. All right, let's go ahead and go to our original topic that we've been working with, and it's the history of, basically fraudsters. We're talking
conspiracy
about
theorists,
fraud, con artists, grifters, swindlers, grafters, scammers, con men. I mean, we have a lot of words for people who take advantage.
And rapists.
Well, that's a different kind of taking advantage.
Hornswogglers.
We could use it as metaphorically raping people, I guess, if you want to use it that way. There is a con artist's personality is called the dark triad. And a con artist's personality is psychopathic, narcissistic, Machiavellian. Those are the three.
Sometimes.
The dark triad. So people who will take advantage of you in those ways. We talked about liars before, and some people just lie for no reason, no gain. They just lie. They know they're lying, and yet they just continue.
They don't care.
And there's nothing to gain by it. But these people have a plan. These are people who have taken advantage.
They have a cunning plan.
Yes. And so do you want, I have two archaeological fraud stories. I don't know what you have. And of course, I have a little on P.T. Barnum.
Well, I have a gentleman. He's passed on. God
they should all be dead. We're talking about
No, I'm talking about an archaeologist.
Oh.
Well, sort of. We'll call him a archaeologist anesthetist.
What year are you doing? What's his year?
Well, he himself lived from 1933 to 1999.
Oh, mine goes.
We're talking about from mostly the 60s and 70s.
Oh, yours is more recent. Mine go back before that, the 1800s.
Yeah, and it's a gentleman I want to talk about Ron Wyatt.
Okay, so you want to do yours first, even though mine chronologically comes before yours.
Well, the places he's talking about and the things he's talking about
come before that.
Probably.
Are we talking about Jesus's foreskin?
Actually, I have that.
You do?
I do. I don't have it on me.
You don't literally have his foreskin.
I don't have it on me, but I know where it is.
I know a place where
it's in 32 possible places.
No, it's 62. Today's number is 62.
Today's number is 62.
Because 69 would be crass. You like it when I drink pear cider.
That's it.
I like to make you laugh. Okay. Serious face.
Yeah, serious face. That's it.
Do yours, because I don't know anything about your guy.
Oh, Ron Wyatt. He's actually really interesting. Ron Wyatt, you may not have heard of him. You may have heard of him, but he's known as a biblical archaeologist. But in fact, he was a nurse anesthetist and pseudo-archaeologist.
Oh, so he just liked to dabble.
Well, he did, but he dabbled a lot.
He played in the dirt.
He claimed to have made 100 biblical archaeological discoveries, including Noah's Ark.
He found it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In the 30s?
Yep. No, in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
He found it.
Okay.
He's absolutely.
Is that the one on Mount Ararat? Is that the one I grew up hearing about?
It's near Mount Ararat.
It's in the locale.
It's near Mount Ararat.
Ark's a pretty big damn thing.
He claimed a lot of things. He claimed that he found the sword of David. The sword of Goliath that David used to cut off Goliath's head.
Wow, it must have been large.
I have another guy that actually said he found the skull, but we don't.
How did David pick that up?
That's a good question.
Oh wait, never mind.
The power of the Lord.
Yeah, I know.
He was doing this under the auspices of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Okay. But today, if you go and read anything about them, they disavow everything.
Oh, okay.
But he was using their money for a lot of these archaeological digs.
Until his scam had... And
I should point out also that he had zero expertise in archaeology. He just started doing it.
Yet reputable people took on his discoveries and supported it?
In 1960, he says, he saw a picture in Life magazine of the Darupanar site. There we go. I said it. Darupanar.
Okay.
Which is a boat-like shape on a mountain near Mount Ararat. Okay. He then began telling people that it was Noah's Ark. The magazine said it was Noah's Ark, possibly.
Okay. So we have some indefinite language.
And he said, well, if that's the case, I'm going. And so he used his money to go to the Middle East. He continued making trips to the Middle East for 22 years.
Wow.
Made more than 100 trips, which, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
So he was clearly getting money from
somewhere.
Yeah,
somebody's supporting him.
His interest widened to take in a greater variety of references from the Old and New Testaments. And by the time of his death, Wyatt claimed to have discovered several sites and artifacts related to the Bible and Bible archaeology, which didn't prevent him from dying of bone cancer in 1991. However, almost all, if not all, of his finds have been discounted by archaeologists, yet there are hundreds of people who still cite him as an expert in Bible archaeology. And he had a museum for a short time in Tennessee, but it has since closed down. The site, by the way, just to give you an idea of how silly this whole thing can be, you might not have seen it, but on May 13th, a big announcement was made that American researchers claim to have cracked one of the Bible's enduring mysteries to map the possible remains of Noah's Ark.
And they're using his site?
Andrew Jones, an independent archaeologist, I looked him up, he's not, told the Christian Broadcasting Network.
How dare you?
That the results of his years-long research, he now knows that the Ark is resting at the Darupanar site.
Oh, the same one?
It's the exact same site.
That you're wrong.
And it is a site that if you look at it from the sky, you go, well, that's kind of boat-shaped.
Okay.
The problem is geologists have gone and looked at it and said no, it's because of a mudslide that happened long, long ago that has since ossified into basically rock. And
it just happened.
It's just the way
shape.
that happens. That shape can be found in other places. But notice that they're saying they found it. Well, it's the exact same site that Ron Wyatt.
That he actually found. So we got to give him credit at least for that, for
Correct.
discovering the location that was already there.
Which had already been shown in Life magazine.
Yeah, they did it.
So
he's riding on the pages of Life magazine.
And I found, and they even had an explanation of how they were able to fit all the animals of the earth on this boat. That's how deep this story goes. Okay. They also explained to me again what a cubit was, which is an Egyptian measurement.
I'm sorry.
By the
I think
way.
Bill Cosby did that.
A cubit? Yes. I can tell you what the cubit was. It was a particular pharaoh, I forget his name, of Egypt, and he needed a standard measure.
Yeah.
So what they did is they took the length of his hand, tip of his finger to his elbow, and then added one hand width. Why? I don't know.
Whose hand?
His.
Oh, all his.
And that was the cubit. Okay. And that became a standard measure for boat building.
Well, as long as it's the same every time,
that's the key.
That's all you need.
But it's Egypt. You can't build big, giant, cool things without having a standard measurement.
No.
You have to know what one is.
Math. They needed math.
Yes. And so you have the invention of one.
Then out of the 100
But I have to tell you about the other thing he found.
I was going to say, what else?
He found what he claimed was the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, all right. That's as interesting as the other Ark, I guess.
And I'm going to go ahead and talk about his find of the Ark of the Covenant, because this makes him sort of like Jim
Jones?
Or not Jim Jones, I'm sorry. Indiana Jones.
Oh, okay. It's like, that's a whole different Jones.
It is a whole different Jones.
Very different personalities, I think. I'm assuming one was real and one was not.
Deb is telling me that I was a little hot on the microphone
You've been really loud in my head.
Okay, well, if I'm a little hot, and if I've been a little hot, I'm sorry.
Hotlanta. I don't know why I said that.
I don't either.
I know. I lived in Macon, not Atlanta.
Okay, there we go. Is that better?
I think so. You just get excited and you just raise your voice.
I do. Okay. Anyway, so Ron Wyatt, man, I'm just screwing up names today. Ron Wyatt said he found the Ark of the Covenant and also the site of Jesus' crucifixion and the site of Jesus' tomb, which coincidentally enough are one above the other.
Oh, well, that's very convenient. Thank you, God.
And they wrote a book about it.
Of course they did.
And I say they.
And it's somebody published
this
it.
Self-published. A guy named Jonathan Gray, and it's called The Ark of the Covenant. And the chapter is Blood on the Mercy Seat. The book describes how Ron Wyatt spent 2 years digging on Skull Hill in Jerusalem, eventually discovering the site of Jesus' crucifixion. There were remains of a first-century building extending out from the rock cliff face and surrounding the site. This building is presumed to be an early Christian building. Presumed. Mm-hmm. Inside the building, there is an altar stone set in the stone wall extending out horizontally. The building, reaching almost directly above the cross hole.
The cross hole.
The building contains a large...
where the main post was?
Yes.
Okay.
The building also contains a large circular tomb seal, 13 feet 2 inches in diameter, 2 feet thick, weighing 13.8 tons.
So the stone that was rolled, is that
so they knew how much it weighed.
Yeah, how did they weigh it?
Jesus' tomb was later found nearby, and this stone was an exact fit.
Oh, wow.
There is a large crack running from the left side of the cross hole and another vertical crack in the cliff face behind, appearing to have been caused by an earthquake. And this is where it starts to get interesting. After exploring the crucifixion site, Ron and his team decided to break through into the rock cliff face.
So they
chipped away.
Desecrated it?
Yes.
Okay.
They soon discovered a cave. Which turned out to be just a small part of an extensive honeycomb of natural caves and tunnels inside Mount Moriah. They spent about a year exploring many of these cavities until on January 6th.
No.
1982. Ron entered the cave that contained the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh.
The Ark of the Covenant
Oh.
was stored inside a thin-walled stone case. It had a flat top that was within 4 or 5 inches of the ceiling. This stone top was cracked completely in two, and the smaller section was moved aside, creating an opening into the stone case.
So they could see what was in it.
Directly above this opening, there was a crack in the ceiling on which a black substance was deposited.
So God's
Wait.
lightning bolt?
Some of this black substance was also said to have splashed onto the stone lid. It quickly dawned on Ron what had happened. This crack was the bottom end of the crack they had found next to the cross hole above. This was confirmed when Ron later pushed a metal tape measure up the crack of the ceiling. The ceiling was not happy. It came out at the left-hand side of the cross hole.
Not the left hand, the sinister side?
They discovered that the crack extended through 20 feet of solid rock. Well, only God could do that. The fulfillment of the type is stunning.
Well, what was in the cover? What was in the box?
Okay. Hang on. I have to get the whole thing.
Oh, my God.
Jesus was in darkness on the cross for 3 hours, and they cite the Bible passage, Luke 23:44. Before he gave the triumphant cry, "It is finished," which is known to have been said by the Jewish priests on Yom Kippur when they would hold up an empty basin and say, "It is finished."
Oh, at the end of the
Yes.
of this. Okay.
When Jesus died shortly thereafter, there was an earthquake that split the rock. We now know that the rock was torn open at the very base of the cross hole on the left side. When the centurion thrust his spear into Jesus' side, 2 copious streams, one of blood, one of water, flowed out his side and into the cross hole.
Good.
The blood went into the split in the rock and flowed down all the way until it sprinkled onto the mercy seat of the ark that was buried 20 feet below. You see where I'm going with this?
So the blood dripped onto it.
Yes.
So do they have samples of Jesus's blood then?
I'm getting to that.
Oh, God. I'm trying to fill in my story.
But this guy's writing is so good. We clearly see the hand of God at work in arranging all of this. Jeremiah, or perhaps some temple priests, hid the Ark of the Covenant in the cave during the Babylonian siege in 587 BC, having no knowledge that the Messiah would be crucified above that spot 600 years later. The exact spot. The Romans who cut out the post holes for crucifixion crosses had no knowledge of what lay beneath them, nor that they were positioning the center hole precisely in the right place. Until Jesus died, there was no way for blood to trickle down because there was no crack. Not only did the earthquake and rocks tear apart, but the stone lid of the casing also split in two directly beneath the crack, which allowed the blood to sprinkle down into the ark. How apt that the blood of the everlasting covenant should fall upon the ark of the covenant.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking me to believe a
Now,
lot.
you're saying, but did they test this blood? How do they even know it was blood? How did they know it was human blood?
Yes, I have all these questions.
Well, it turns out we have an answer.
I hope so. I'm a thinking person. I need an answer.
Ron Wyatt took samples of the blood in the crack and on the stone lid and had it analyzed. Using an electron microscope, it was possible to find the chromosomal content of the blood. It was human blood, but very peculiar. Normal blood has 46 chromosomes. When a child is conceived, 23 come from the mother and 23 from the father. For the pair, the mother always provides an X chromosome. If the father provides an X chromosome, then the child will contain the chromosome XX and be a female. If the father provides a Y, the child will have a combination XY and be male. Okay, got it? We're good?
Yes,
The blood analysis from the ark chamber showed a total of only 24 chromosomes. Of these, 23 were derived from the mother, and there was one Y chromosome. This indicated the blood belonged to a male. No human blood like it has ever been known to exist. This evidence shows not only that this was indeed Jesus' blood, but also confirms the virgin birth. Jesus did not have a human father. The Y chromosome was provided by God's Holy Spirit alone.
Oh, wow! And so proof,
positive
evidence.
Now, I went to find any evidence, and it turns out that people who poo-poo this story, and there are many,
shocking.
No evidence of blood being tested in Israel was ever conducted.
Oh, so it went.
And the blood itself that he had, this black substance, was in a sealed vial that no one has ever tested that is known. Now, maybe some crazy chemist tested it at some point and then just didn't say anything.
In some basement lab somewhere.
Yes.
In his mother's basement.
Now, Ron Wyatt, you can watch videos of Ron Wyatt all over. His videos are still around.
Really?
And he's a very mild-mannered, very meek.
So on my side of things,
so is he a grifter? Is he a con artist?
Yeah, like he just wanted to be close to fame?
I absolutely believe that he believed.
He believed. He thought he had really found something.
I do believe that. And I think that
or maybe he just really didn't want to work a day-to-day job.
Now, I found some other stories too. Like there's a story from his hometown of a woman who said that she was dying on an operating table and he was her nurse anesthetist. And at one point she heard the doctors say that she's not going to make it. And then she looked and saw Ron Wyatt kneeling in prayer in the corner of the room, not monitoring her, but
not doing his
corner
job
of the room. And that suddenly a bright light filled the room.
And she was saved.
And she felt life return to her body.
Okay. So he was a very religious man then.
He was absolutely religious man. What do you say to that? How do you?
You can't prove or disprove. That's what she says.
Well, his job is to prove it, but he never went very far.
Well, he didn't try real hard because he didn't want to disprove it.
And I find,
I understand that, and so there you are.
Yeah, and so no, the blood was never tested by anyone they can find.
Where's the vial? Is there a sample vial?
No.
What about his museum?
Yeah.
Okay. I have
by
a lot
the
of
way,
questions, but
for blood to be tested, it has to be
fairly
reconstituted.
Oh yeah, like it's dried up and you got to water it.
And so
just add water.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, my first one, I only have two little archaeology forgeries or, cons, whatever you want to call them. The first one is actually it comes from religion too, but it's from the atheist side.
Yeah. Okay. So.
All right. Mine is about the Cardiff Giant.
Never heard of him.
All right. Good. Is that true?
No, I've heard of him.
Have you seen the picture of the Cardiff Giant?
I've seen that one picture that I recall.
Will you let me see, where is it? Google Cardiff Giant, New York State Historical Association.
Oh, okay. I've seen one picture that I know of. And it looks like they're pulling him out of the ground with some kind of big stand.
This is a solid. This is just,
Cardiff Giant. What?
Cardiff Giant, New York State Historical Association.
Okay.
Because I want you to see the same picture
first of all,
I'm seeing.
Why don't you tell the people?
I will tell them the story so that you can see him, and when you see it, you'll go, oh, okay. About 1868, there was a man. His name was George Hull. He was actually an atheist. And he got into a rather hot debate about religion because they were citing the book of Genesis and the fact that giants once roamed the earth. Okay.
Did they, though?
Well, as an atheist, George is like, no, absolutely not. That didn't happen. But it gave him an idea. Apparently, he decided he wanted to con Christians. He wanted to show them. He just went on an elaborate and expensive mission, a quest to prove the gullibility of Christians, to show that they will believe anything. So he got a giant block of gypsum, got it quarried, and had a couple stone masters who he swore to secrecy.
Gypsum.
Yes, to carve a giant, and the giant was carved in his image. It's like, have you seen the picture?
Oh yeah, there he is. Okay.
Is he shocking? Is there anything shocking about him?
Not really.
He's got a huge dick.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh,
I didn't see.
That's why I said he's.
Oh, I don't have a picture of that.
You don't see his. Okay, hang on.
Well, I don't need to.
I want you to see it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Because he's carved in the image of George, the atheist.
Oh.
Right.
Wow.
He made them make it look a little like him. So I don't know if the penis is a replica of George. Anyhow, so 1868.
George was popular with the
George
ladies.
is very popular. He based it on his own appearance. The completed giant weighed like 1,300 kilograms. I don't know how much that is, actually.
We'll say it again.
1,300 kilograms.
1,300 kilograms. That doesn't sound very heavy to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, wait. A kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So go there.
Okay. Well,
Double
and
it.
he was 3 meters. So roughly he was like 9 feet, almost 10 feet tall.
That's a big guy.
It's a big guy. So it cost him at the time $2,600. He got the giant. He started putting acid to make it stain and to give it kind of a porous, appearance.
Ooh.
So today it would have cost about $54,000. He planned to present this as an example of a petrified human, right? So,
yeah, sure.
Because it was a big deal at the time. Petrified humans. I don't know, 1860s, for whatever reason, they were all obsessed with that. He wanted to get it down to Mexico and bury it and have it discovered there, but apparently that proved too difficult. So he has a cousin who had a farm up in Cardiff, New York. So they went and buried it on the farm in New York and waited 1 year.
Okay.
A year later, George calls in and says, "Hey, I need a well dug, and I need it dug right there." So the discovery of the Cardiff Giant happened in 1869 by some workmen who were digging a well.
Uh-huh.
Soon, the place is just
Then
swarming.
they found a crack in the stone.
It's swarming with people. People show up to see it. The cousin, many businesses in the area, everybody's profiting. And then eventually a real paleontologist actually shows up and says, this isn't real.
This is BS.
This is a fake. However, for some strange reason, a group of wealthy men got together, gave him $23,000 for this stupid naked giant that kind of looked like George. I don't understand why his arm is across his belly. It's like above his penis, but it's not covering his penis.
Weird.
But it looks like he wants to cover his penis.
Or it just wants to have maybe like contrast.
I guess.
Look at my arm. Now look at this.
Look at this.
You can't tell which one's which,
That's
can
the
you?
size of a Pringles can. I don't know. So if in today's dollars, that 23,000 would have been like $500,000. So despite
righteous bucks.
he actually made a killing on it. And apparently at the time, P.T. Barnum offered to buy it. The men that had purchased it, though, refused to sell it. So what did Barnum do in Barnum style? He went and made his own.
Well, sure.
And then he said, "Mine's the original."
Yeah.
Right, like he just lied.
Well, that's how the Ferris wheel guy, when he built his Ferris wheel at Coney Island,
Yeah.
he had seen one at the Chicago World's Fair. And he tried to buy it, and they were like, absolutely not. So he went and built one half the size and said, on this site, the world's largest Ferris wheel.
The first one and the largest. Yeah. We're just going to straight up lie about it. And that whole, at that time, there's a sucker born every minute, that was not actually Barnum's quote.
Oh.
That is not his. I have
It
a
was
lot
Marie
of
Antoinette, wasn't it?
I have a lot of information about that. But the Cardiff Giant was actually known as the Great American Hoax.
Nice.
So Hull actually had achieved his goal because the initial debate about religion with the Methodist community is who he was fighting with. He had argued about evolution, geology, and alchemy, and they believed it till the very end. Like the Methodists,
no way they were going to let it go.
That was their. It was real. It was part of the Bible, and it was real. Isn't that kind of funny?
Well, it is kind of funny.
And so actually, I get his intent. So when we talk about somebody grafting or a grifter or a con man, I understand he did it in order to prove a point. He went through a lot of trouble, and it cost him a good deal, but ultimately made a lot of money on it to prove his point.
Yeah.
So I understand that one.
Yeah, that was to make money.
Well, it was to win an argument.
Well, yeah, okay.
And how many men do you know who would go to great lengths to make sure that they win an argument?
That's true.
Yeah, see. The other one, though, was not quite so clear. I don't exactly know what this guy was doing, but in 1912, an amateur archaeologist, because, a lot of people.
They seem to be a lot of amateur archaeologists.
A lot of people.
Well, all archaeologists were amateurs at first.
Yeah, because they
were just the Historical Society of London,
and we're digging shit up and going, "Hey, what's the story behind this?
Check out this thigh bone I found.
Wow, that's amazing. Why are there so many dead bodies down there?" This guy's name was Charles Dawson, and he made a.
I know about him.
You know about the Piltdown Man?
Yes, I do.
He made a really bold claim. His view was evolution, right? He was down on the evolution theory, and he said he found the missing link between man and ape in Piltdown, Sussex. He presented a humanoid skull. It had an ape-like jaw. It had bone skull fragments. There were primitive tools. An actual geologist named Arthur Smith Woodard at the British Museum looked at it and believed every word. He actually spent a lot of time and his expertise in finding the authenticity of the Piltdown Man. Scholars declared that the skull was over 500,000 years old. And in 1915, so 3 years later, the team led by Dawson, he found a second skull that was very similar to that first one, almost
proof.
At the original site. So,
by the way, the whole missing link thing.
Yeah.
For if you don't know what we're talking about.
Well, you should, because we all grew up. I grew up. No.
But there isn't such a thing. That's itself a hoax, because there's the missing link.
I'm going to get there.
Well, I was talking about it in just general terms. Well, there's no such thing.
Well, I know. Let me.
Okay.
Damn.
All right.
Damn. All right. It took a few decades. For several decades, that stood as the main piece of evidence of evolution from apes. Like, this is probably what we grew up in school going, the missing link. Yes. So that hoax actually held up from 1915 to 1953. And I don't understand why it took so damn long. But apparently around 1953, they began to look at it and realize that it was actually a medieval human skull. It was a 500-year-old orangutan jaw. It had chimpanzee teeth. Under the microscope, they found file marks on the teeth.
Good work.
In 2009 and in 2016, they found canines and molars had been filed down methodically and artificially stained. There was silicate putty on the skulls. But,
so nobody had really looked closely,
well,
I guess.
Apparently not. You're just going to take that claim and say, all right, we've got it. Here's the missing link. Put it in the museum. Everybody can come look at it. See, we evolved from apes. Dawson himself actually died in 1916. So it was only a year after he had found the second skull. He never confessed. But everybody said he was the culprit. Actually, there was an archaeologist named Miles Russell who discovered that Dawson actually had 38 forgeries in his collection, ranging from primitive tools. He had fossilized toads. He had tried for years, apparently, to join the Royal Society, and they just would not let him. In.
But there were people like immediately going, "This is fake." And nobody
listened to him because you had the guy from Smith Woodard there at the museum, at the British Museum, going yes. So obviously that guy had something to gain by all this too. Dawson himself really just wanted fame and prestige. He was looking for a name.
I guess so. I mean,
I guess that's what you're seeking. Fame,
maybe
notoriety. I want my name in a book.
I just find it funny though that. I mean, so literally the same year, one of the first people that looked at it was like, well, this is a human skull with an ape jaw. And people were like, get out of here.
Why did it take till 2009 before they realized there was silicate putty holding shit together?
And so you were getting to the missing link?
Well, no, you were getting to the missing link. Like that was their evidence from 1915 until the 50s.
But that's the problem. There's never going to be
a missing link
because evolution doesn't happen
in that way.
That would require
a one step. Yes, like
ancestor.
We were here and then we're here.
But we have a whole bunch of
little
steps.
Things. Little things happen over.
And so that kind of shows how evolution probably occurred.
Minuscule things.
And because people for some reason, there's this expectation that here's a monkey, here's a human, and this is where it happened.
And they bred, and here's what we got.
No, it doesn't work that way.
No,
We've been around as a species for a really, really, really long time.
And we have to adapt.
And yes,
to whatever environmental stressors.
Environmental pressure.
You're watching it happen as you work in your yard, as you
it's basically
live your life.
It's no different than what we do to animals to get certain characteristics that we desire.
Well, the Germans bred for a dachshund. What did they need? I need something that can go down a hole. It's a tube-like hole, and fight a badger to the death, and then pull that badger out of the hole so we can eat it.
Yeah. And so you have there's so many examples of what we've done to animals.
To
Look
make
at horses get better. We get better and better at breeding horses and all kinds of other creatures.
Yeah, for desired
goals. And we don't immediately get the result we want. Sometimes you have to go through 2 or 3 generations before you finally get what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so why can't nature or God make that happen the same way?
I have no idea. And so, P.T. Barnum was coming up and doing his show thing at the time that was going on as well, because he tried to buy the Cardiff Giant himself and they wouldn't let him do it. But Barnum was an interesting character all on his own. And he actually quite often said, no, it's not real, but people want it to be. And they're willing to pay me for the excitement and thrill that they get looking at all of these oddities and curiosities. He actually called them humbugs.
People continued going to see the Cardiff Giant even after everybody knew
that it wasn't real.
I saw there the nickname Old Hoaxy. We're going to go see Old Hoaxy.
The Great American Hoax. Barnum called the term he used for what he was doing, and I guess these people too, was humbug.
Oh, humbuggery.
Humbuggery. It's putting on glittering appearances for novel things, right, to arrest public attention, to attract public eye and ear. He just wanted to make it clear that practice was justified. He said there are trades and occupations which need only notoriety to ensure success, concluding that there's no harm, no foul, so long as at the end of the day, your customers felt like they got their money's worth. And his actually sham, I guess, began. The sham began when he was 25, and he bought the right to rent an old black woman. Her name was Joyce Heath. He took her around Philadelphia, said that she was a 161-year-old former nurse of George Washington. Okay. That was the claim.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, she absolutely was not. And they didn't find out the hoax, I guess, until she died, and they actually did an autopsy on her, which they showed that off too.
Well, sure.
Yeah, everybody can go in and see. Although slavery had been outlawed in Pennsylvania and New York at the time, there was a loophole that allowed him to lease her for $1,000 a year. And he had to borrow $500. So he had $500, he borrowed $500, and apparently made his money back, with this woman.
All right.
So, yeah. Anyway, the Hugh Jackman, The Greatest Showman. No, that's just.
He didn't look that good.
He did not look that good. He was definitely not.
He didn't even have claws.
No, he did not have adamantium claws. So P.T. Barnum, interesting history, but certainly not.
Yeah.
What the showman was peddling. So I guess they were peddling to us too. Anyway, P.T. Barnum could be his own, his absolute own show we could go on and on about. So that was our past.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even get to talk about the Holy Foreskin.
Well, do you want to save the Holy Foreskin? I don't actually know where we are in time. I stopped looking at the clock.
We're getting close.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the future, or do you want to do the Holy Foreskin?
No, if I do the Holy Foreskin, we're looking at another 20 minutes because, man, this thing got around.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we need to start with the Holy Foreskin next time. That could be our history.
Yeah, that's true.
We got to talk about the past, present, and future. My future stories are it's the ever evolving AI bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
It really began because I started with a rabbit hole. The title of the story was "Am I Hot or Not?" Because apparently now that's another of the new trend. I saw people are using
All
AI.
right, let's finish it up with AI.
AI. Am I hot or am I not? So people can't trust their friends and family to tell them the truth about their appearance, so they're turning to computers and are asking AI, what do they need to do? They want to feel more desirable. This woman asked the bot, she said she's tired of feeling less than desirable. So what can I do to look better? And apparently AI told her that her face could benefit from some curtain bangs. Yes, some curtain bangs. My concern, of course, is as you go through the story that AI has biases too. I mean, it's created based on everything that the internet has about us.
Oh, I want to build an AI that's mean.
Well,
what can I do to look better?
Well, that's all.
There's nothing you could do short of a punch to the face that would make you look any different.
Well, using technology to help you with your beauty is going to be one. It's going to try to sell you shit.
Don't feed your narcissism.
Exactly. It's going to try to sell you things. It's going to tell you products. And it does as you go through the story. It's just echoing what it sees online.
AI is turning into like the
marketer.
Character on Big Mouth on the cartoon.
Yeah.
His hormone monster.
Yeah, I guess so.
In a way. And the girls too.
It's just not matter. It's just not emotional though. There's no emotion attached to it. It's
there is on one person's part.
The person asking the question. But AI is going to be... It's going to just be
another thing,
an advertisement.
It's going to turn into what the internet turned into.
Yes, because it's using the internet to learn.
Because we already went through this once with new technology, the internet. Mm-hmm. And we've gone through it. It was going to be the greatest thing ever. It's always going to be free. There's no way they can monetize the network, blah, 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 blah.
So we have two things going on, though. We're starting to rely on AI for spiritual and religious support.
Oh, yeah.
Counseling. I saw one headline that said, I replaced my gym with an AI trainer, and the results are amazing. I mean, I didn't click on the story, but that was the headline. So on that aspect, socially... and culturally, we're using AI for these types of things, fulfilling roles that people would normally take over. And then on the side of employment, we're going to be using AI to take over the jobs, again, that humans have been doing. So we naturally have to reduce our population, right? I mean, it's happening anyway, but it's going to happen because there are going to be fewer jobs.
We just need a good nuclear war.
Well, this guy says we're going to have an AI apocalypse and the Earth is going to turn into a dystopian population with just about 100 million people
already happening
by 2300. Because he says AI is going to wipe out jobs. It's going to turn big cities into ghostlands because there's okay. We lose all these people. Who's going to buy products? There's no reason to make products. We got tariffs on all this shit that we're supposed to be getting from China, but do we really need that shit?
Well, we're just going into something that I've talked about before on here. Well, the future, and and now I'm irritated because the Atlantic has stolen my thunder.
Oh, have they? I don't know. I haven't paid the Atlantic, so I don't get their stories.
I talked, and it's probably been a couple of years about how if things continue the way they're going with AI, it was when we talked about transhumanism.
Oh yeah,
and that has nothing to do with transsexuals.
Yeah, I remember you saying that during the show. Yes, I'm not talking about trans.
It's the idea of trying to basically outlive yourself by incorporating yourself into a machine. Into a thinking machine.
Yes, and don't you think the tech bros want to do that?
They absolutely want to do that. Peter Thiel, who is the head of Palantir, is been given a contract by the White House to create a national database
of all of our information.
All of us, everything, all information, everything we've ever published on social media, every picture you've ever taken, every single thing.
Every time you've posted a taco online.
And the fact that Palantir is the orb that Saruman used to spy on people and almost killed one of the hobbits. That's the name of his company.
But that's
he's literally telling you up front.
He's telling you this is the administration of transparency. They keep saying it. They're transparent about what they're doing. They are not trying to hide it. So is that any better than we're going to have a cover up?
But my thing is AI right now is not centralized.
No, but the governments.
What's going to happen is we're going to eventually get to a point where they're going to create an overarching AI for all other AIs.
Yes. And then all information globally will be stored in that database. And let's not even go into how you store that much information and supply the electricity to
Well,
run
that
it.
information can be used then by people to do all manner of evil.
Well, sure. Do you need your Social Security check? Yeah, but you know what you said about Donald Trump on May 15th?
Well, it's not even, I'm looking far past him. He'll be dead.
Yeah, no, this
But I had said back then on the show that we're heading to a new kind of feudalism. And now the Atlantic.
I did see that headline.
The Atlantic now has a story about it. But yeah, it makes sense.
Yes.
We're going to head to
we're going to go back to an agrarian type society, but we'll have technology.
Yeah, but it won't be agrarian exactly.
No, but because we won't be buying.
There will be agrarians working, but they won't have a choice.
We have to have food.
Right.
But it's not going to be the same kind. We're not going to farm on big, vast lands.
Oh, no, the peasants won't be eating beef.
No. But they're going to have to build up.
That's going to be for the techno lords.
So all the malls and stuff that are going to shut down because.
There'll be no malls.
No, there'll be no malls. But we're going to use those buildings.
There'll be no stores.
To have, hydroponic lettuce and all of the product or, produce that we need.
That's why Musk wants to build this giant city in Texas so he can create his vision of a.
We're going to be eating Soylent Green. I don't want to do that. I'm not all on board for that.
You know what?
Snowpiercer, whatever that block of shit they were eating was.
If you're eating Soylent Green, you're eating processed food. You need to eat the natural version.
Yeah, so stop poisoning our air,
so
our
eat
food,
the dead.
And our water. Well, that's a whole industry that has to change immensely too.
What?
Funeral industry.
Sure.
I've had a lot of thinking about all of this. I've done.
I agree. I think
we can't
cemeteries
vast
weird.
swaths of land can't be used for putting a $10,000 box in the ground. How long can that go on?
Tradition. It's tradition.
Oh, it's just bullshit. We need to stop that.
I agree.
Okay.
Ashes take up so much less room.
I'm sorry if your loved ones, and because I know grief is a rough thing.
We've all had it.
We all, yes. You don't get out of life without grief.
No one gets out alive. That's just the way it works.
It is the way it works. So take.
But while you're here, you can be kind.
You can.
You can
put the cart back, open the door for somebody.
Thank you. Please
give your neighbor some cucumbers.
Just block people instead of argue with them.
Instead of having a fight with them, because it hurts my head and I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to have online debates because it's too difficult.
Well, I almost always. In this particular instance, I didn't, but I almost always post an article. This time I posted the article about the chemtrail legislation.
But they just want to punch holes in it.
Well, of course.
Because nobody believes anything because they give us everything.
Look, I have stuff here, since we're almost out of time, I have stuff here for conspiracy theories from the most bizarre things.
And people still believe them.
The people who believe, like, for instance, flat Earth. There is objective evidence there's no flat Earth. And yet.
So it's pointless to argue.
Well, when you get to the point where that's going to be the argument, then I'm just going to bow out.
Yeah, because I know nobody's changing anybody's mind.
Every year, I get asked the question. At some point, some student says, "Ms. Long, do you believe in UFOs or do you believe in ghosts?"
Yes.
Or no. The answer is no. I don't believe in the Loch Ness monster. I don't believe in Bigfoot. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe that visitors are coming from light years away and buzzing the earth and then leaving. No, if they're going to expend the time and energy to get here, they're going to take over.
Yeah, they're landing and they're doing something because we are.
Because I didn't talk about the ball they found in Colombia now that everybody's freaking out about it. So
well, maybe you saved the ball for the
metal orb.
Oh, well, here, I'm going to write it down in the book.
Right, metal orb.
Metal orb, and we're going to connect that to Jesus's foreskin.
Sure. I don't know if I can do that.
We can segue from a ball to a foreskin.
Well, it's foreskin to the ball.
Depends on your journey. Are you going north or south?
There's a lot. Well, actually, I guess you're right there. With a blade.
You're in the taint.
No, that's too far. You've gone too far.
If you reach the taint, you've gone too far.
You've gone too far. Yeah, that's right.
Stop! I can't write foreskin. There we go. Metal ball to foreskin to taint.
That's good advice. If you get to the taint, you've gone too far.
You need to turn around.
Oh my God.
That means you're in Cameron. Go back. I didn't mean that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Cameron has improved so much since. Cameron's more like a ball, not a taint anymore. They've cleaned up Holly Beach.
I don't think it makes it better.
They've cleaned up Holly Beach.
Cameron is a lovely
now.
place.
It is. And they're paying their teachers a decent salary now.
Well, they are.
And it's a 4-day school.
I know.
I just don't want to drive to Cameron.
I just don't want to get hit by a hurricane.
Actually, I'm ready for retirement. That's what I'm ready for. However,
we're getting there. I think we should retire now.
Medical insurance.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm hanging on for. And I like my students.
I do too. I
actually like the students.
If I could retire.
If it wasn't for the damn rubrics.
I don't even pay attention to them.
No, I go in there and I do my thing.
Have you looked at the rubric? Yeah.
Can I make everybody feel good, still learn something, keep my classroom management all together? Is my work environment? One day I should bring the rubric in and we should go through the multitude of
if I brought in the curriculum
that should be happening in a teacher's classroom in 47 minutes.
I should bring in the first grade civics curriculum. It's hilarious.
Well, I know.
Or fourth grade.
But I'm not doing
People
all
would be
those
shocked,
things.
though, because most adults couldn't answer about half the questions on that list.
First grader to know how to.
Yeah. And they're going to remember it.
Yeah, I know.
Kids don't even establish permanent memory before the age of 5. They are connective memory.
Most kids in an elementary school and middle school are walking around with an itchy ass because they don't know how to wipe their butts properly.
True.
So there.
Truth.
Yeah.
There you go. We'll leave that thought with you. You got to clean every day.
So mom and dad, read to your children and show them how to, wet wipes. Every school should have wet wipes. All right. You know what?
We got to wrap it up.
We got to wrap it up. So past, present, future, there you were. That was our.
Dirt awaits you.
Yes, it does. Every day. I'm excited. Okay. I love summer.
Well.
But you know what? That joy that I feel when summer is here, it goes with me everywhere I go. Take it with you, people.
It's portable.
It's portable.